Hello, citizens, and welcome back to Find Your Org. This show is all about helping you find the right Star Citizen organization for you. Today, I am joined by Zarian Reese from Invictus Praetorian. So, Zarian, welcome, and I am happy to have you on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I think let's jump right into the first question. So, can you introduce yourself and give us a brief intro to your organization?
My name is Zarian Reese. I'm the commanding officer for Invictus Praetorian. We are PMC and SC. I'm also a U.S. Air Force veteran. So structure, discipline, and building strong teams have always been a part of my life. That mindset has naturally carried over into the way I lead the organization. As for the org itself, we were born from the idea that there's more to this game than just running solo missions or chasing ships. Or trying to avoid crime stats for that matter. We wanted to create something more structured, something more meaningful. So we are a tight knit group. We're disciplined, and we focus a lot on large scale coordinated operations. Everything from strategic bombing, combined arms assaults, getting into the naval supremacy and ground force dominance. We've grown into a multi domain combat ready force. And we also include logistical arms, recon teams, and even special forces. Every element of our org operates like a real world military would, and we move with precision and intent. We pride ourselves on high standards, clear comms, tight coordination, and a serious respect for the time that our members put in to every operation. We're not a full on milsim organization. The way I like to call it is we're more of a brotherhood. We're more of a team. We're trying to push the limits of what the game can actually provide to us. We like to challenge ourselves. We like to create an experience that feels both immersive and impactful. So whether we're taking on combined arms missions or building strong partnerships with our allies and our comrades, we are about building strength through unity, and that's what drives me. And ultimately, I think that's what drives the org.
Okay, that was a very, very nice intro. And I actually have a follow up question on that. And I know we talked about this in the conversation we had before this, but if the listeners or the viewers were to look you guys up on RSI, they would see that you have one member. And there is actually quite a story behind that. So would you like to tell everyone?
Yeah. So uh, we typically do not recruit through the RSI webpage. We do all of our recruiting through our Discord directly, and this is for reasons of OPSEC. We don't necessarily need who is out there. Who knows who's doing what and what the organization is and everything like that. So we keep that stuff in house. So the RSI page is more sort of just keeping the name there, the identity there, saying, "Hey, we do have a presence," even though if it appears to be minimal, but we are there. The RSI webpage unfortunately does not provide more in the way of work tools. So there's not really a whole lot of functionality that comes from that right now, or any benefit. But as the game changes and evolves, we'll definitely likely look to evolve our thinking in that process as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we had that big org tools panel at CitizenCon last year, and there was a lot of exciting stuff that I think everybody will want to get into eventually.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, I think we can move on to question number two. You did touch a lot on this in question number one, but maybe we can summarize a little bit. So, how would you describe your organization's mission and playstyle?
Ooh, well, yeah, we do focus on large scale operations, like I said previously. We are more of a precision focused org built for players who want more than just normal chaos of the verse that's currently out there. Like I said, we move like a real world unit would. We attack our objectives in layers. And then we also try to provide redundancies to help assist wherever possible to ensure the most combat effectiveness and overall success of the mission.
Everybody likes a good combined arms operation.
Yeah, it's commonplace these days, so you kind of have to go through it now.
Absolutely. And it evolves in real life and it evolves in Star Citizen as new ships and new tech and new challenges and locations are being added.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, let's move on to question number three. How is your organization structured in terms of ranks, division, leadership roles, etc.?
So we're built with essentially at the first it's clear communication. Communication is the basis of everything that we do. Every org has their own type of command structure, and ours is no different. We mimic ours after real world military effectiveness, so that way there's clear communication and positional expectations that go along with that. So more specifically, we focus on the rank structure of the U.S. military. So in this case, the U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force, and the U.S. Marine Corps. Like I said, over at the top, we obviously have the command staff overseeing operation, strategies, and training. From there, the org is broken down into specialized divisions, which would include our Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, some recon units, as well as logistics and operational support roles. And like I said, we utilize all the ranks from the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Marine Corps, and the Navy. And so that way, when people get into certain positions and roles, there's no question about who's doing what and who's in charge of what. Typically, what we have seen is there's a lot of organizations that kind of fictitiously create ranks and structures that fit more of a sci-fi theme. And there's just nothing wrong with that. But when you have new players that are coming into the game, or even just new to your organization, a lot of that structure can get lost. And it's kind of cloudy on as to who's doing what. With us, a large base of our group is here in the U.S. So if I tell you, hey, there's a staff sergeant, you know the difference between a staff sergeant and a private. And so those are kinds of things that we really want to drive into the organization, drive into our members from the time they enter the organization. What their place is and what their role is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Familiarity makes integration a lot easier. And given what you said, I think now is a good place for a shout out to the E4 Mafia.
Yes, absolutely.
Second org interview where the E4 Mafia came up. All right, let's move on to question number 4. And this is personally for you. What are some of the biggest challenges you face as an org leader?
Oh man. Honestly, I would say the biggest challenge is balancing the structure with community. We want to have and hold high standards. We want to run tight ops and stay organized and try to build something elite. But at the same time, you're dealing with real people, real lives, real schedules. Especially people with different personalities. So it's always a balance between keeping things disciplined while still making the org feel organic and feel like it's a place where people want to be and not something that they just have to perform in, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and another challenge is consistency. Obviously, in Star Citizen, they're doing better now, but previously, content was unpredictable, it was scarce. But the systems are always evolving, and we want to make sure that, with regard to keeping the momentum, whether we're recruiting, organizing ops, or training, or even building relationships with friends and allies, we want to be able to provide something to our group during those times of lull. So trying to stay focused and keep the team engaged through the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows is a constant grind. But it's one I enjoy and I take pride in.
I think that's a challenge that's universal among org leaders and senior staff, I think, for organization of any size.
Yeah, and I think we really have to look at being creative with our content. Just because the game is in a bad place doesn't mean that you can't take a few guys, go out and do a mining mission or go out and do some, train scouting or something like that. Like you have to really get creative to keep the interest moving and going forward. And so I think, the more consistent you stay with this, the more ideas will just flow. And it just goes, man. You have to run with it.
Absolutely. And with that, I think we can move on to question number 5. So how do you handle conflicts or disputes within the organization? Like you said, there is personalities that can clash sometimes.
Yeah. So, obviously conflict is going to happen. Anytime you've got strong personalities working together, it's the part of the game. I think the key is how you handle it. For us, it starts with communication and respect. So we don't let things fester. We like to get out in front of things early. If there's an issue between members, we get them in a room in a voice-to-voice environment, talk it out. No passive aggressive, back and forth. It's just straight respectful conversation, and then out of that conversation, we come to an agreement of, okay, this is where we all land on it, and let's find a solution that would benefit us all. And I take pride in leading by example. I don't yell, I don't micromanage, but I also don't tolerate nonsense. We've built a culture in the community where accountability is expected, and generally the larger egos don't fly. If you mess up, simply just own it. and get better. If you've got a problem, speak up. If you're out of line, we'll address it in a professional manner, because keeping the team strong comes before any one person's pride. At the end of the day, we're all here to enjoy the game and become part of something that we feel is bigger than ourselves. So I don't think conflict would break us. If anything, I think it sharpens us because you gain a deeper understanding of those that you're working with. A few years back, we underwent some major, let's call it internal renovations, and we became a better group for it. So while we're not as big as we once were, the quality of player we look to bring in has definitely improved. Our relationships with our partner orgs has definitely increased dramatically, and all of which I'm proud to call them my allies and friends.
Absolutely. And I think, conflict resolution and becoming better based on feedback and concerns raised by the members and conflicts between the members is a major part of creating a strong core as an organization.
Oh, for sure, man. I think a lot gets lost in translation when you're in an online environment. Things can sometimes come off snarky or just come off the wrong way or demeaning, and that just may be a personality thing that someone has, and someone else may have just taken it the wrong way. But it's just a matter of getting them in the room to speak together to find that common ground, and I think is where you thrive.
Absolutely. My go-to has always been if I see a message on Discord and I am angry about the contents of the message, I'm like, okay, inhale, exhale, read it again, and try to understand what the other person was trying to tell me. And usually that prevents, I would say, 90% of disputes, at least in my case.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? One last point on this, and the analogy I like to use in any conflict resolution is if we're staying in the same room, we can obviously agree to the elements in the room, whether there's a door, a window, a desk, a chair, but it's just the angle that you're standing of the room, that perspective that you have is what changes. So you could see a window behind me, I could see a wall behind you. We don't have the same perspective, but we can agree the elements in the room. And I think that is the starting point.
Absolutely. That was a very, very good answer. Okay, so moving on to question number 6. How do you onboard and train new members?
Well, we welcome anyone who's willing to put in the work. So whether you're a seasoned veteran or brand new to the verse, skill levels matter less to us than mindset. If you're coachable, reliable, and committed to working in a team environment, we'll invest all the time we can into you. Before placing anyone into a division, we take the time to assess their skills, find out what their strengths are and what their interests are. That way, we're not just tossing people into random roles that they may not really even like. And like I said, we want to build an opportunity for everyone to be as effective as they can in their roles and as fulfilled as they can. So whether you want to be a combat pilot or whether you want to work your way up to capital ship commands and larger organized events, we also have, obviously places for logistics and operation supports as well. We make sure it's the right fit for you. But like all things, there is a process. And I firmly believe that those who are great leaders were initially great followers. Once you're placed and then into a division. You'll get onboarded, meet your new command staff, and get integrated into the operations and training schedule. We've got a great mix of high tempo operations for our hardcore players and a steady structured activity for those with more casual schedules. As long as members communicate and contribute, there's a room for both play styles here.
Absolutely. To sort of expand on what you said, I really agree that mindset and being able to absorb information and learn from that information is very often superior to actual skill that you start out with.
Yeah, absolutely. And my outlook on this is, not everyone can be, a level 10 player, right? And when I say level 10 player, I'm looking at, like groups like Avenger One and his group. They're high level players, right? And they take themselves very seriously, and much respect to them for that. Everyone isn't on that level, so I would be more than willing to take on 50 guys, 50 girls, whoever, who have say a level 2, a level 3, combat rating, and let's try to find out what the baseline is to bring them up to level 5. So we raise the bar together.
Absolutely. And, I always thought, if you bring 50 level 5s, you still have a fighting chance against 10 level 10s.
Absolutely.
And I think that math stands even in Star Citizen. I mean, depending on what the current balance is, but eventually I think it will stand.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to the next question, and we covered this in the previous ones, but again, let's bring it back. So what kind of in-game activities does your org focus on? Trading, exploration, PMC work, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I don't want to say we're an everything org, but essentially that's kind of how it's going to play itself out. We do everything, with the exception of piracy and griefing. We do not engage in that at all, nor do we tolerate any of that behavior within our group. We're not white knights. We are a PMC, and I think we're more of a neutral PMC. So we're not afraid to get our hands dirty if the mission calls for it, but that's not something we typically go out of our way to do. We, again, like I said, focus on large scale operations, especially with the service having hundreds and hundreds of players at this point. We need to be diverse. We need to have the ability to be agile and make sure that we're setting our team up for success based off the mission parameters and kind of adapting on the fly, which I think our leaders do a great job at.
Very good. Moving on, and you again mentioned this. Do you collaborate with other orgs for community events, battles, or do you prefer to operate on your own?
A lot of column A and a lot of column B. Honestly, we do enjoy having operations against other groups. It doesn't matter what their stance is, what their preference is. Um, I like to build relationships. I like to build communications between groups, so that way we can network to come up with a great event and have fun doing it. And like I said, as long as these groups are bringing professionalism to the game, into the event, I'm more than willing to work with anyone in that regard.
Absolutely, and I think community events and this cooperation is one of the big things in Star Citizen that we see, and especially stuff that gets the attention of CAG, where multiple groups come together and they do something very cool.
Yeah, and the collaboration is always the most difficult part. But once you have a system in place, and I think myself and my groups, we have a great network of orgs that we work with. Not everyone can be a test squadron, right? 20,000 members, and hats off to Montoya for that. But not everyone has the ability to have that. So I think going forward, especially as 1.0 gets closer, there's going to be a lot of smaller groups that are networking together to accomplish common interests.
Yes, that was actually one of my I don't want to say concerns, more of an observation on last year's CitizenCon regarding how they want that end game org gameplay to work, is that a lot of the smaller orgs are going to be very easily pushed out by larger orgs. And the only way forward for those guys is going to be to group together, form alliances, and try to carve out something for themselves.
Yeah, like I said, with groups like Test Squadron, they're going to be able to gather large swaths of territory very, very quickly out the gate, and there's going to be small groups that just don't contend in that arena at all. So their best opportunity is going to lie with networking and communicating with people that they trust. That's going to help them out. And like I said, I'm Invictus Praetorian, we are definitely one of those groups.
So moving on, and we're going to circle back a little bit to the challenges. How do you keep members engaged and active over time, especially between patches? We have the slow periods every once in a while. In summer, especially, it gets slow. People are on vacations, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think the shortest answer is going to be don't put all your eggs in one basket. Star Citizen is our primary game that we will be focusing on. We like to do other things as well. We like to have opportunities to speak with other groups and coordinate with other teams to play other types of games. So we have to keep a sharp mind and be flexible in our approach, so that way we can keep our membership engaged.
Absolutely. Having sort of other games to fall back on. And even, within Star Citizen, if there's no new content, like you said, even doing very basic stuff like mining or salvage, as long as it gets people online and playing together, that's still good. Even if you get 5 people, that's still a good result, at least in my view.
Absolutely, yeah. Every event doesn't need to be 100 people, right? It could be just 2 or 3 people who just want to go out and do mining, things like that. There are always options. It's just a matter of how you deploy them.
Absolutely. So now let's move on to the future. Where do you see your organization in the next few years as Star Citizen develops and we get to the eventual release of 1.0 and beyond?
Great question. I think as the game develops, I see Invictus Praetorian continue to grow into a well-respected and reliable force in the verse. We've already got a solid foundation. We're a tight organization with a lot of great people. As more systems and gameplay loops come online, I think we'll be ready to evolve with those systems. We do plan to expand our capabilities into, say, long-term deployments, territorial control, and more structured mission contracts. So our goal is to be and to operate effectively in any environment, whether it's space-based fleet actions or boots on the ground engagements. More than anything, I want us to maintain what makes the org special, and that's going to be a strong, focused team with clear intent and a clear identity.
Very good. And let's drill down on that with the next question. How do you think Star Citizen's progress and new features are going to impact your org's playstyle?
Well, just to take a line from Chris Roberts, the only constant is change. And I think Star Citizen's progress is only going to enhance what we're already doing, and it's going to provide more opportunities for us to become more effective in our approach. When more systems come online, like resource management, server meshing, and the dynamic mission system, it'll give us more opportunities to fully lean into the structure that we're already built for. So, right now we kind of have to simulate a lot of what's coming, run operations, coordinate across divisions, and create our own objectives. But once those mechanics are officially in game, it'll make everything we do that much more impactful and persistent. And I think that's where we really shine the most, when teamwork, logistics, and battlefield coordination actually matter the most.
Absolutely. I think, as we move forward with the development and, more star systems that are coming online, server meshing is becoming more refined. More locations are added because they want to add more points of interest, random points of interest, that kind of stuff. And as AI is evolving as well, I think that ability to adapt and supply operations, and especially as we move forward, and we're going to have many systems going on, supplying your troops is going to matter. Being able to repair your ships is going to matter. That logistics, strategic gameplay is only going to become more and more important as we move towards 1.0 and beyond.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The supply train has to be fed. In order for any group to be successful long term in any system, you've got to have working processes in place that are going to be built towards the goals that you're trying to meet. And so, with us laying this foundation now and building on it over time, it'll just only strengthen it that much more when the game goes live.
One of the things I sort of like to compare this to is, every time you fire that Idris railgun, you have to remember that poor guy in a prospector somewhere trying to find the uranium for that shell.
Yeah.
Every time.
Every time.
And moving on to the final and some would say most important question, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Why should someone join your organization?
You know what? We are built for players who want structure, who want to have a purpose in a team environment. We are a group that takes ourselves seriously, but we don't lose sight of the real life balance. We're a disciplined group that values coordination, accountability, and growth, but we're also flexible. So whether you're a person that has limited time, or if you have all the time in the world and you're ready to show up to contribute on everything, there is a place here for you. We're not just recruiting, but we're building connections in my mind. We're looking for dedicated members, skilled mercenaries, other like-minded orgs to train and collaborate with on a meaningful high level. We are looking for quality, not quantity. So I've often told my junior leaders, we're looking for players who are not trying to be here for right now, but who want to be here from now on. That was my approach to the game. That's the approach when I took when I built the organization. And that's still my mantra going forward. So, it's not about being the biggest, but it's about being the most effective, the most reliable, and respected. So regardless of your skill level, if you're ready to put in the work and be part of something that's real, Invictus Praetorian is definitely a place for you.
Sounds like a good place to go.
I would say so.
Okay, Zarian, that was a great interview. Thank you very much for joining us. Any closing thoughts?
Like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to use your platform to get the word out about who we are and what we do. I'm looking forward to see many new faces, many new voices over the coming days, weeks, months, years. And I like to personally interview everyone coming through the door. So I want to get a great understanding of who you are, what you're looking for, and verifying that we can be the place for you.
Absolutely. And I will link your guys' Discord in the description of the video, because I am guessing that's the best way to get in touch with you.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, thank you again, Zarian. That was a great interview, and I hope you get some new members out of this.
Hope so too.
Thank you, and have a good one.
Thank you, brother.
And that will be all for today. Thank you again, Zarian, for the great interview. You can find all the links to Invictus Praetorian in the description of this video. And if you would like to see your organization featured next, feel free to reach out to me via email or Discord. Thank you for watching or listening. Fly safe, and I will see you in the verse.